the Neon Confidential podcast.
Is this thing on? So we have to start this, that I love how we went from sailing in Greece to now we're sitting down doing a podcast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that was for your birthday trip, you know? And here we are.
It's amazing. I was just telling Madeline how long the people that you meet through other people, those relationships last the longest.
100%.
Like I'll know you forever.
That's right.
I know that for a fact.
Because, well, when you meet people and you just know that like they're your people, that you stay in touch. It doesn't, and honestly, the older that I think we get, it's the relationships that last are the ones that don't require a lot of like daily attention. Correct.
Yeah.
You're busy, I'm busy, but when we see each other, it's like, oh my God, I love you. How are you?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Low maintenance.
Low maintenance friendships to me are A+.
Absolutely.
You know, so I feel like with that, you've been one of the most warm, magnetic women I've ever met.
Oh, thank you.
Where does that energy actually come from? Like, do you feel like it's natural, or did you have to learn how to turn it on?
My mother is extremely warm and lovely. My father always says that she'll find the ugliest, most boring person in the room and talk to them all night long. She just like loves to make people feel good about themselves. And so I think I got a lot of that from her. But then I had a whole gothic period in my teenage years where I was like hating people and angry about everything. And it took me a while to kind of get rid of that and release that stuff so that I could be who I really am, which I think is just like a warm, inviting, happy person.
Can we talk about the hair color being involved? Like, could you have pink hair and be gothic?
Probably.
I feel like yes.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with some really dramatic eye makeup. You could make it work.
Was there a proper evolution? You went from like black hair to pink hair, and you feel like that was a reflection of your personality kind of evolving?
I went, from black hair to pink hair. And when that happened, I had just discovered EFT tapping, and I had like reversed an eating disorder that I'd had for about 5 years. And all of a sudden felt like I had been wasting my time for 10 years. I felt like I had been living in this miserable place. And now I was like, I have to make up for lost time. And I started wearing color, and I dyed my hair pink, and I went to Burning Man, and I moved to Australia, and I really just stepped my pussy up.
But now it's safe to say you feel like this is the best version of yourself that you've ever been.
By far.
For those who don't know, what exactly is tapping, and why do you think it's such a game changer for rewiring your, I guess, internal beliefs?
Yeah. Tapping is essentially acupuncture without needles. You do it to yourself with your own hands, which is great because you don't need a facilitator. You don't need a tool. You already have everything inside of you that you need. And it really works to get access to your subconscious mind so that instead of running these thoughts that are not helpful, you're telling yourself that you deeply and completely love and accept and forgive yourself, even though you have these thoughts. Because when there's something inside of us that is not working or that we want to change, you can't change it and resist it at the same time. You have to actually accept that it's going on in order to get that traction and to change something. So when you're reiterating that you love and accept and forgive yourself, even though you have this belief or this thought or this fear, then you can actually change it. And you can get into your subconscious and really rewire your beliefs so quickly.
And for those people who don't know, you've written best-selling books, which is one of the most, I find that fascinating, especially that weren't you releasing the books one chapter at a time? I don't think we've ever talked about this. It's genius for two reasons. The first one being that it holds the author, you, accountable. People get writer's block, they get lazy. How many authors have you met that are like, I'm writing a book and it's been 5 years. You're like, where's the book?
Right.
So people are subscribing to your book, and it's almost like when Netflix is releasing a series and it's like one show at a time. So where did that idea come from?
I was living in New York City. I had just moved there. And at the time, I was really working as a fashion blogger, a lifestyle blogger. And I was starting to move into the self-help kind of direction. I had a lot of friends who were in that industry. And there's this guy called Mike Dooley who has a subscription called Notes from the Universe. And I said to him, this was 2008, Everyone was stopping doing their advertising on blogs. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to pay for my rent in this sublet in the West Village. Like, am I going to be homeless in New York City? Do I have to go back to New Zealand? And he said, I write books, but I record them on like a CD and I send them out to my people. And I thought that would be amazing, but I don't have the confidence to just speak for hours onto a CD. And I thought maybe I will just do a book and I'll do it one chapter at a time. And I was in a position where I needed to have income immediately. I couldn't wait for a year for a book to be written. And I thought, well, I'll just sell one chapter a month and it'll be like a serial. And I think it was $7 a month or something. But from selling that, that was my first like over $100,000 product that I had.
Wow.
And I immediately realized there was such a big audience for this, and it was something that would just make sense. And I've done that, I think, 4 or 5 times now.
So it started out as a purely business decision, probably.
Yeah.
But then, so did you have to have the following to back that up? Like, you can't just decide to do that. It's like you already had this following from your blog, and then those people were like, we want the content. That's so smart.
It was really challenging at the time because I remember I had just been blogging, and so blogging is free for people to read. And I was really concerned that people were going to think that I was like a sellout, or they were going to be upset that I was saying, hey, can you give me $7 for this work? But they were thrilled. And what I learned from that was people that love you are thrilled to like give you money to get more access to that thing that you do. And that was a real turning point for me in terms of my mindset about money and abundance and business. And yeah, it is so good for accountability because you get like 2 chapters in and you're like, I hate this. I don't want to write another word ever. Please end my life.
With that, have you ever felt like this pressure where you're like, this isn't perfect?
Oh, absolutely.
That's almost better though, huh? Because people could probably just write the shit out of something hoping for it to be perfect. And that's not the point of writing, right? So it almost like keeps you accountable, keeps you more authentic than not.
It does keep you more authentic. And I think the audience really likes the fact they're really getting access to your first draft. Because by the time it comes out as a paperback, it's gone through many edits, many different iterations. But you really are just getting my thoughts straight from me. And it really works for me.
Back to my original point when I was going to list this off. So you've written best-selling books, you've led sold-out retreats, you created the radical self-love movement. What's something that you're proud of that doesn't show up on your highlight reel?
I think I'm just proud of the confidence I've built over time. And when I look at the like Rolodex, like the mental inventory of things I've done, I'm so proud of the fact that I've tried a million different things. Not everything has worked, and that I still keep going.
You've openly shared your transformation from depression to becoming a leader in the self-love space. What's the moment that you realized your pain could actually be your power?
I think as soon as I moved to Australia and I had come through all this darkness I was in, I was immediately struck by the need to tell other people what I had done and what had changed for me, because I realized I lost like 10 years of my life to feeling this way. And nobody should do that. And if you can avoid that, then I'm going to tell you everything I've done, everything I know that can help you. Because I really think it's your responsibility to help people if you can. I think if you know something and you don't tell someone, you're an asshole.
Yeah.
And which is not to say you should shove it down their throat, but you are privileged to know it. So it's your duty to share it.
How did you get in that deep depressed space for such a long time? Like that couldn't have even, you probably didn't even feel like yourself. 10 years is a long time.
It's a really long time. And I honestly don't know. I think I had a lot of emotions that I didn't know how to express. I didn't know how to deal with them. And I was just like an angsty teenager. I was unhappy. I lived in New Zealand. I was like, this fucking sucks. I don't want to be here. Like, I want to go on tour with Marilyn Manson or something, you know? I just didn't want to be where I was. And it was interesting. I remember being younger and being really creative and writing lots of books and all this stuff. And everyone would be like, you should be a writer, yada, yada. And then when I turned about 13, the tune changed and everyone was like, well, you don't make any money being a writer, so maybe you should be a journalist. Maybe you should be a lawyer. And I was like, fuck, I don't want to do that. And I started to take on other people's limitations about what my life could be. Whereas in my heart, I was like, I want to move to New York City and I want to write books and I want to have this like fabulous, weird, bohemian lifestyle.
That really resonates with me because especially going to school for communications and also wanting to be a writer, my dad called it that I might as well get a degree in basket weaving. I was like, wow, how
Daddy,
supportive.
yeah,
Dadzio just coming in with a sick burn, you know? It's like amazing. And eventually I figured out a way that I liked writing, but I liked telling other people's stories more, which is essentially the basis for PR. I didn't know what that was.
Right.
But that is so interesting that you really listen to, people and what they have to say about what you should be and what you should do. And you have this innate feeling and calling being like, that's not what I feel like. I want to be me.
Imagine if I was a lawyer.
No, I can't.
Stop it right now.
I feel like you'd be great at arguing, but like, I don't think I could take you seriously.
I couldn't either. And I just don't have the energy. Like, I'm so conflict avoidant. I don't want to do that.
Right.
That's my nightmare.
And speaking of that, you coined the term radical self-love, right?
I think I did. I mean, I was talking about it in like 2011.
Yeah.
It is a long
I was
time
going to say
ago.
before it became mainstream.
Way before.
What does that look like in your life now versus when you started the work?
I really see radical self-love as the bottom of the pyramid that everything else I do rests on. It's like without a sense of loving and appreciating who you are, there's nothing else to build on. So it's really the building blocks of everything that I do. So whether it's tapping or manifesting work or building a business or whatever, the basis of it has to be I like who I am and I'm going to look after myself and I'm not going to try to punish myself into being something that I'm not.
Yep. And for anyone that you feel like is stuck in a loop of self-sabotage, what's the first step that you would recommend that they take?
Well, the first step is just noticing that you're doing it. And then once you notice you're doing it, you're like, okay, cool. Now I can make some different decisions here. And so whether that's doing some journaling about it and getting really inquisitive, like, what do I think is going to happen if I don't self-sabotage? Like, what is the fear I have of success? What do I think is going to happen? Is everyone going to ask me for money? Am I going to be too successful to attract a man? Like, what is going to happen if I'm doing too well?
I keep thinking of all these things my dad taught me when you're talking.
Really?
So, yes, this is so interesting. So when I was growing up, I was a gymnast and people thought I was literally going to go to the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a fall off the beam. So I developed this really weird, definitely a mental block where before I would do a backwards pass on the beam, I would tap my foot. Like I couldn't go backwards. I was just like kind of meditating on like all the things that if I fell off, how bad it would hurt, that kind of thing. So my dad, he'd always come to my practices and he was like, come over here. And I was like, great. Now I've got my coach yelling at me. He's going to yell at me. And he said, and by the way, when I would go backwards, I would always immediately push off the beam.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, what are you afraid of happening? And I'm like, falling. And he's like, but then what are you doing? I'm like, falling. He's like, right, just making sure we're on the same page. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that is true. It's like really like having this image in your head of what's going to happen and what you're afraid of. And sometimes it's like you have to get out of your own way.
You totally do. And so many people stop themselves from getting what they really want because they're actually terrified of what they want. And they're terrified of what that's going to mean. They're terrified that their family is going to disown them, that they're not going to know how to pay taxes. Like we come up with so many reasons why success is going to actually be terrible, but it's buried really deep. Mm-hmm. Which is why we have to make the space to meditate on it, take a walk and think about it, do some journaling, like however you get clarity. I know a lot of people will they meditate when they're riding a bicycle or a motorcycle or something, So whatever you have to do to get that emptiness so you can really listen to yourself. And I think that's something a lot of us are really missing. We are constantly scrolling, listening to a podcast, talking on the phone. There's always background chatter. You're never alone with your thoughts anymore. And you're losing who you are. You are not connected to your intuition. You can't hear the messages your body's giving you. You're completely adrift.
Do you feel like I've always felt like when you're younger, you're more connected to your intuition. And then as you get older, it's probably because all of those things that you just said were just overwhelmed with all of this noise, and you get further away from it. So speaking of EFT being a way to get back in touch with that side of yourself, what is EFT? Like, let's go to the science part of this. Like, what does it stand for? What does it mean? How do you do it?
Okay. It stands for Emotional Freedom Technique because it really frees you from the burden of emotions, which is very appealing to me because I'm like, I don't want to feel this. I just want to move on. So it really stops you from looping, ruminating, getting stuck. Like if you had tapping when you were doing your weird foot tapping thing, it would have changed the game for you. because you would have been able to just clear that fear out so you could act differently. And basically the way that tapping works, or the way that I believe our minds work, is you have a belief, which creates a thought. The thought inspires you into some kind of action, and the action creates a result. And then that result reinforces your belief. So sometimes when we want to change something, we're trying to change it at the action part. But if you don't have a belief that supports that action, you'll like take a step forward and then be like, whoa, 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 hang on a second. And you'll fuck it up, or you'll sabotage it, or you'll change your mind or something like that. Or you'll do it like 60%, not 100%. So with tapping, we get to go in and change the belief. So you can change your belief from being, I have to work really hard for my money, to being, the more fun I have, the more money I make. And you really get to choose every single belief that's in your life and in your mind. And most of us have been programmed by our families and society, and we just unconsciously adopt everything they've told us. Like me being told you should be a journalist or a lawyer. I was like, okay. But my body knew that that wasn't right for me. And so that's the thing. With tapping, we get in there and we change the belief. So we say, even though I think that I have to be a journalist, I have to be a lawyer, and my life has to suck, I get to choose something else. And so with tapping, you're literally tapping physically on these various points in the body while you repeat these phrases over and over. And you essentially walk yourself off the ledge. So you start by acknowledging the fear, saying that even though I have the fear, I accept and love and forgive myself. And then you start to move towards like, well, what would it look like if it was different? What if I could believe this instead? What if I could have more fun? And you just kind of work it through.
One of the things that you and I talked about, I have two questions. One of the things you and I talked about, remember when I was like, I told you I was seeing something over and over. I was like seeing something.
Mm-hmm.
And you were like, well, if you have it in your brain that you're seeing it, you're going to recognize it more often.
Reticular
than not.
activating system.
Is that sort of the same thing where it's like, if you're telling yourself over and over that these other things are possible, that slowly you'll start to realize the other things are possible? Is that sort of the same thing?
Pretty much. So what you're talking about is the reticular activating system, which is basically you've told your brain that this thing is important. So for example, you want to buy a red Range Rover. All of a sudden you see red Range Rovers everywhere. There have always been as many of them on the road, but your brain has now been told like this matters. So you see them everywhere. It's the same deal. And your subconscious mind works like that. So if you're thinking like, I'd really like to move to a new space, then you'll find that you're in a coffee shop and you overhear someone saying like, oh yeah, I'm going to get out of my space. It's not a great fit for me anymore. And it'll be like the perfect person. Your subconscious mind is so powerful, and it really is like a little missile, and you can direct it, but most people aren't directing their thoughts. They're just here, there, and everywhere. They have no direction. And so when you get really clear about what you want and you're like, I want this, I want that, I want this, it happens really quickly.
That's how I found this office. Like literally what you just said. Like I was like, just decided, I was like, my lease is up. Why do I keep paying rent? Like nobody, I'm making someone else rich. I want my own office space. And then literally the next week, I was talking to someone and he's like, oh yeah, the guy down the block, he's like, gonna turn this into, he was gonna turn it into an Irish pub, and now he got called back out of retirement and he doesn't want the building. And I was like, what building? They're like, oh, it's 3 doors down from you. I was like, I'll take it, and that was just how it worked.
And that's the thing too. You were clear about what you wanted, and if you hadn't been, you might not have spoken to that guy.
Right. That's exactly right.
Like your subconscious is guiding the actions you take all the time. All the time, even though you have no awareness of it.
Who came up with EFT? Like who did that?
A guy called Gary Craig in the early 90s. And they actually created it to help veterans with PTSD. And it was just a crazy trial. Gary Craig actually took a couple of other formulas and sort of put them together to see how this worked. And it was so effective. They were like, oh, you could use this on everything.
So he would take veterans, soldiers, and do on pressure points these positive reinforcements, and it would pull them out of whatever depression they were in.
They would stop having symptoms. They would be able to sleep. They weren't filled with anxiety and depression, and their quality of life completely changed.
And then you tried that out, and then you were like, this works for me, and if it works for me, why aren't people talking about this?
Pretty much.
And you became like a conduit for
yeah
I
was like, this is amazing. It's really democratic. Like it's free. anyone can do this. As long as you learn how to do it, anyone can do it. And there's hundreds of videos on YouTube. So anything that you're like, wow, I wonder if this would work for this thing, I promise you there's a video on it.
So one of the things about me personally is I run negative. I just do. I always have. And one of the things that's changed my life is doing the 5-minute gratitude journal. I do it every morning. I do it every night before bed. And I can tell you that, like, I can't explain how, but I am less negative. Like, I start looking for things to be grateful for throughout the day. And it really, like, radically changed my life.
Yes.
If someone just has like 5 minutes in the morning, what's a simple tapping script or a prompt that you recommend?
There's lots of different ones. On my Instagram, there's like a magical morning tapping that's, I think it's 6 minutes long. And it really is just about clearing the energy for the day, getting yourself in a good mood, like making yourself a magnet for miracles and magic and money and good opportunities. And when you do this, you will feel so good. Like, it immediately changes your mood. And I'm really into the idea of feeling better faster.
I was going to say, who wouldn't want all those things that you're talking about?
Literally. And it's so quick and easy. I'm just obsessed. And I have people who will make videos of themselves doing this. Like, they know the words off by heart. They do it every morning, and they have been doing it every morning for 6 years.
I see it. Like, when people repost it, I'm like, that sounds great. Like, I'm like listening to them tap and I'm like, hell yeah, girl.
Yep, totally.
What is the wildest breakthrough you've personally had through tapping?
I think the wildest breakthrough was the very first time I tried tapping. And just like you, I, at the time, definitely ran cynical. I was like, nothing works. Fuck my life, whatever. But the first time I tried it, I was so cynical. My boyfriend was really into it and he was like, try this thing. And I was like, this isn't going to work. So let me give you a real test. So the first time I tried it was on having to use my asthma inhaler, which I had to use every day. I would like have like a mini asthma attack and have to use my inhaler every morning when I walked up a hill to catch the bus. It would be like going from my warm apartment to the cold air and then having to use my lungs to walk up a hill. I would have to use my inhaler. So I watched a video on YouTube. I learned how to do it. I took myself through a session. And the next morning when I walked up the hill, I didn't have to use my inhaler.
That's wild.
That's wild. And I thought, if that one session can change something that's been happening in my body for 10 years, what else do I believe about myself that doesn't have to be true?
And what were some of those things?
So many of those things, like, you have to work for, like, at the time I was working in customer service. I was like selling ads for newspapers out of the yellow pages.
I hate that for you.
I hate that for me too. You know, like working for other people and living in New Zealand. And I mean, if I look at my entire life now, none of that I would have thought was possible. None of it.
And you've literally taught now, would you say like hundreds of thousands of people?
Yeah.
How to manifest. What's something people often misunderstand about manifestation?
They think it all happens in the mind, but it actually happens in the body. So people make a vision board on Pinterest. They set it as their wallpaper on their phone. They look at it all the time and they journal about it, maybe sometimes. I believe that manifestation starts in your pussy if you have one. You have to feel the actual feeling of it. And if the idea of the thing doesn't actually excite your whole body, it's too little. And you have to go bigger. And I actually think one of the problems most people have is they just start too small.
Everything you're saying, I'm like, that is true. It's been recently true for me. Like,
tell me.
So, well, I shared with you that we just signed the Cosmopolitan and the Bellagio. Yes, we haven't even announced it. By the time this comes out, we'll have announced it.
I was so fucking excited for you.
It's one of those things where I never thought that would be possible. And why is that? You know, everyone that is somewhere where other people want to be has at some point believed that they couldn't get there. I think maybe not. Maybe I just run like that. And I'm just like we talked about.
Everybody has doubts. Everybody has doubts.
But then it's like, well, why not me? Like, why can't I do that? There's literally no reason. I think the work that me and my team do is the best. Why wouldn't those people come knocking on my door? And then that's exactly what happened.
And the conviction you have where you're like, we're the fucking best. So come join the winning team or don't bother. That's magnetic. Yes. Nobody's going to sign on with you when you're like, well, we're okay.
Or like, maybe I what about this price instead? You know, just like, no, I was like, literally put my big balls out.
You slapped your big dick on the table.
Like, here's the price. And they were like, actually, we got that approved by our CFO. Can you also do the Cosmopolitan after we'd only submitted for Bellagio? And it was just like, not that I was thinking, I can't believe this is happening. I was like, of course this is fucking happening because I did this, you know what I mean? And I didn't question it. So I think the things you're saying are really resonating. And with that, what's the most holy shit thing that you've ever manifested that you had to like do a double take? You're like, did I really just do that?
Damn. Well, let me think about it. But first I have to ask you, when you were looking at signing the Bellagio, did you feel it in your pussy?
Yes, of course. I was like, so actually, I didn't hesitate because here's what happened. One of my girlfriends, she's actually been on the podcast, Brittany Palmer, she asked to hang out. And I was like, listen, I am not telling a lot of people because I don't want to jinx it, which I want to get your feedback on that too, because like, who actually fucking cares? Like, to me, it's like the more you say it, the more I'm like, and so we're going back and forth. And I was like, listen, I need to stay in and lock it down because I'm doing this huge proposal. We spent hours and hours putting this thing together.
Yeah.
She goes, you're going to get it. And I said, I know. And I already just knew. I just knew it. Like there was not a way that it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah. That's how it goes.
And so what do you think about when people are like, well, I don't want to say because I don't want to jinx it?
So I have a whole practice I teach called the Magical Morning Practice, which is literally a manifestation practice you do on a voice note on your phone. And then when you're done, you send it to a friend.
Oh my God. That's scary.
I know. It scares the shit out of people and it's so powerful. So 2 of the girls on my team actually met through this practice. One of them lives in North Carolina. The other lives in Hawaii. They are now best friends. And this practice brought them together. And now they both work for me, which is completely insane.
So cool.
So cool. But basically, what happens with telling people, there's a couple of ways it can go. If you tell people who support you and love you, like your friend Brittany, they're going to go, you're going to fucking get it. And they're going to say, yeah, what about this? Or how about this angle? Or you could email this person. And they're going to really assist you. But sometimes when we talk about something too much, we get a dopamine hit from talking about it. And then we actually don't take action.
Yep.
So you have to be really careful about, like, I wouldn't talk about it until you're in process. Until you're already doing something, because your brain gets the reward just from talking about it. So you want to be careful about where you're using your dopamine.
That makes sense. Yeah. It's a balance. Like you want to tell people who you know will help you support the idea, but you don't want to just be telling everyone just in case, like action over words in those instances.
That's the other thing about manifestation that people miss is they think it's just about dreaming about it, but the action component is huge. You weren't going to sign the Bellagio without a proposal.
Correct.
So they have to work together.
Right.
But also, if you'd made the proposal, but you were like, this fucking sucks and I'm shit and I'm never going to do this.
Yes.
That wouldn't have worked either.
Yeah. It's all about being prepared for sure. I spent so long on that proposal that I was like, there's just no, I felt great about it, you know? But okay, what's the one thing that you've done where you were like, holy shit, I just manifested that for myself?
Okay, actually, I think it's my relationship. That is so juicy to me. So when I am ready to get into a relationship, I write down a list of qualities of the person that I want. And this time it was a longer list. It was actually 3 pages. Usually I would just write down, here's how I want them to be, which I've done. But this time I wrote down how I wanted them to be. Then I wrote down who I was going to be with this person. How was I going to show up? What was I going to bring so that I'm like a worthy partner of this person? And the third thing was, what do we do together? What do we have in common? What do we enjoy doing? Is it rescuing dogs? Is it going to the south of France? Is it taking walks? Like, what do we actually do together? Because I've had relationships where we didn't really have anything in common. And after you get over the initial thrill, there's not really anything there.
I am obsessed with that. Because I feel like I don't know how many of my girlfriends have said, have you made a list? Have you made a list? And it's like, yes, motherfucker, I made a list. Nothing's happening.
Right.
Or I'll meet someone and I find that he does check those boxes and I'm still like, I don't know. I'm kind of bored. But it is because like it might be complimentary to me, but I didn't think about if I'm dating a chef and he's got this amazing job and our paths are sort of intertwined because we work with so many F&B restaurants and those sorts of things. But I'm like, he doesn't ever have any time off.
He's never home.
and he's never home, and he's off on Mondays and Tuesdays, which is the normal days off for a chef. And I'm not going out on those nights. I'm tired.
Right.
So it's like that part that you just said, what are we going to do together? What does our life look like together? That part is so important. Maybe that's what I'm missing.
Well, there has to be a lifestyle fit.
Right.
You know, one of the things that my fiance and I do every Saturday morning is we call it the carb tour. So he comes to my house, we get coffee, we go to the farmer's market and get scones, then we go to the bagel shop, then we go to the donut shop, and then there's a dog rescue event next to the donut shop every Saturday morning.
A dream.
We go look at dogs. We go, should we get this one? She's so cute. Do you think Weasel would like her? And like, that's what we do on Saturday mornings.
That's so dreamy.
You have to have like the same idea of like what constitutes a good time. Like, I like to honestly stay home and watch television.
Me too.
I don't really want to go out.
Same.
Sorry, I don't. I want to go out with my girlfriends and get dressed up and take photos and work. And other than that, I want to stay home.
So you feel like it was the I'm the same way, by the way. And I don't think it's just the older that I've gotten. I feel like I've truly always been like that. Like
You're a Taurus.
Yes. I want like 8,000 thread count sheets on my ass, and I don't want to leave.
I understand. I understand.
Read poetry and books and yeah. And maybe that's
Yes.
the thing that I need to write. Like I need someone who also wants to do that.
Right. Like, you don't want a guy who wants to go clubbing 3 nights a week.
No, absolutely.
You want a guy who will like rub your feet and read you a poem and cook you fucking bolognese.
That's exactly
You know what I'm saying?
I'm going to revisit my list.
But anyway, my point is, so I wrote this list. I had just decided, I was like, I'm ready to get into a new relationship. And then I wrote this list, and then I decided, oh, I'm too hot to like be sad about not being in a relationship. I'm going to go to Europe for a month. So I called Madeline and I said, do you want to go to Europe with me for my 40th birthday? And she was like, fuck yes, let's go. So I wrote this list, and 2 weeks before my 40th birthday, which was maybe 3 weeks after I'd written this list, I met this man.
That's
It
insane.
happened so fast. And the thing that was really cool about it was I met him, I went on 3 dates, and then I said, I'm going to Europe for a month. Here's a copy of my book. Read it, and I'll see you when I'm back.
What a boss ass bitch.
He wrote me a book report. He was like, here's what I loved. This is amazing, blah, blah, blah. And while I was away, we really built this connection that was based on intellect and humor and our minds. It wasn't just like, I met you, you're hot, let's fuck. We actually got to know who we were.
Mm-hmm.
And it was almost like delayed reaction. We got like a month to get to know each other first, which was perfect. And by the way, he lives 10 minutes down the road from me. It's so funny because I would always say to people on calls, like, the love of your life could be just around the corner. Well, the love of my life was just around the
You
corner.
said it enough times to where like that was your actual reality.
Yes.
That is so wild.
So wild.
And I'm so happy for you
Thank
too.
you.
What would you say for someone that feels like they've made the list?
Oh my God.
What's the blockage? Like, do they feel like maybe they don't deserve it all the way? Do you feel like they're not putting themselves out there enough?
It could be all of those things, but I think that something that people are doing is they're not aware of the inputs that they're getting. They're following meme accounts that shit on men. They're listening to podcasts where they talk about how men suck. They're watching shows about how men cheat. And when they talk to their girlfriends, all they talk about is, my boyfriend fucking sucks. So you have to put yourself almost on like a mental diet of, I'm not going to put this into my subconscious because that's what I'm going to attract.
Mm-hmm.
I'm only going to talk to people positively about relationships. And if they're not capable of that, then I'm not going to talk to them about it at all. We'll talk about something else.
That's a really good point. And I mean, even especially people who have maybe had that woven into their identity where their parents are divorced and they feel like that's the only option for them. Or
Right.
same thing that you're saying, they're seeing their friends going through divorces or in shitty relationships. And you're like, well, what's the point?
Right. But you don't have to take that on. That's somebody else's story. It's somebody else's experience. Just because something happened to your parents doesn't mean you have to repeat history.
Exactly.
You get to choose what you believe and you get to choose what your experience is going to be.
Right. Switching gears a little bit. I feel like your brand is very unapologetically you, is what I'll say. How did you develop? Because I do feel like you have a very clear voice and aesthetic, obviously, but without falling into like the online guru trap.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Kind of.
Okay. Because like I would put you in a different bucket.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like you're selling a step-by-step guide or like life coach kind of situation. This is very unique and different. How do you feel like that your authenticity has led you to where you are?
It's everything.
Mm-hmm.
And the more that I remember who I was when I was a weird kid, an only child, like recording fake radio stations on a tape recorder and writing stories and filming videos and building a time machine out of boxes in my
sounds
bedroom.
like so much fun.
Dude, I was having the best time ever. But the more I connect with that version of myself, the better my business is and the more real I become. And it's true, I have a hard time explaining what I do to people because I'm not like Mel Robbins where I'm going to be like, here's an idea and I'm going to write an entire book on this 2-word phrase.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was talking about. So glad you felt, connected those dots. Yes.
Like that doesn't appeal to me. And basically the way I see it is like the more I'm myself, the more I can help other people.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's my job to keep pushing my own boundaries and doing a bigger version of things and having fun with it. Like if it's not fun, I'm really not interested.
That's what I think the difference is. You definitely answered how I wanted you to answer.
Okay, great.
Because like that, I think that's the difference. You are more engaging and it's more fun. It's not like if you don't do this, you're doomed, like
Right,
kind
I
of thing.
hate that. Why project that onto someone? Because it's not true. You're just filling their head with bullshit.
Right.
And it's irresponsible.
Yes. Could not agree.
Don't be that person.
Yes.
You don't have to market with fear. I mean, some people do. It's not my bag.
No. And that's when I'm listening to some of those, because I listen to a podcast every morning when I get ready. I try to mix it up. But in that journey for me, I've found people where I'm like, oh my God, like there's one person in particular, and I won't say who he is, but like I cannot listen to his voice. It's shrill. He's like yelling at people.
Oh.
I'll tell you when we're off air. Because I feel you'll feel the same way. It's like every time he comes on, I'm like, Alexa, next, like screaming. I'm like, I cannot listen to this guy like screaming at me. Like I just can't do it.
I'm sure that works for some people, but I would rather sit down with someone who's having a great time and be like, how do I do this?
Yes.
Because like my answer to anything is going to be, you should love yourself more. What does that look like? And if you're not enjoying something, figure out a way to make it fun.
And that's what my feedback from the community that you've built too is everyone just looks like they're having genuine fun.
The best. Our events are unbelievable. We did Vortex Fest in 2023. We pulled up to the Fonda Theater in Hollywood, and there's a line of people in sequins that goes all around the block and like wraps around the building. I was like, those are my people.
How does that feel pulling up to that?
It's crazy.
Crazy.
It's crazy. And at the same time, I've spoken to so many of these people in DMs or on calls. So it's like having this huge social network of people, but you actually do know them to some degree. And it's beautiful. Like these people are so special, and I would never have found them if I hadn't had the courage to be like, hi, I'm weird. Like you have to let your freak flag fly.
And you've been doing that longer than most people.
So long.
Like
I started my business almost 20 years ago. It's 19 years.
Wow. That's insane.
Insane. I started when I was 23.
That is crazy.
And my final job that I had was working in a call center at a telecommunications business. Actually, that's not true. I was working at the New Zealand Post Office in the corporate headquarters. I don't even know what I did. I like sent contracts to franchisees or something. And then I was like, fuck this, I'm starting a blog.
Speaking of business, what is the most surprising part about running a business like yours that's based on like vibration and energy in such a metrics driven world?
Well, I think metrics are a really easy way to lose yourself. And the comparison game is always a losing game. You are always going to be less impressive than somebody else. And I've had like times in my life when the metrics have looked really good, but I am working myself into the ground. And it's one of the reasons why we took a break from the Vortex for 2 years, because we were on this insane content schedule. I was like, I can't keep doing this. Like, I'm a creative person. I'm burnt out. Like, I need a break. And so now we've come back to the Vortex, and it's set up in a way that's really sustainable and really efficient for people. Like, things changed so much. Like when the vortex first started, it was 2019, 2020. Everyone was stuck inside. They just wanted something to watch. And now it's like, no, I need something that's going to support me in my life, something that's 5 minutes long that I can listen to in the morning that gets me into a great vibration so I can use that in my life.
And explain what the vortex is for people who don't know.
The Vortex is a feel-good membership, essentially. It's a space full of audio tracks and an audio program and other like live immersions that go on that are all designed to get you into a place where you feel good. I really believe feeling good is your job. And when you feel good, the momentum of that inspires you to do more things that make you feel good. And if you are in a good mood, making that difficult phone call becomes so much easier and you just get it done. You're not leaving it to the end of the day. And when you're in a good mood, the barista gives you a free coffee and someone flirts with you and somebody asks you to dinner. But when you're walking around like someone shitting your cornflakes, it's not happening. Like it is literally your job to feel good and it should be your first priority every day.
Define what is rich girl energy.
Oh, what is rich girl energy?
I feel like that's a thing that I've heard you refer to before.
Is it?
Yes.
Rich girl energy. I definitely talk about like hot girl mindset.
Yeah.
Hot girl mindset is similar. I would say hot girl mindset is just knowing that you're here for a reason and you don't need anyone else to validate you. I think the opposite of hot girl energy is when you're waiting for everyone else to prop you up and make you feel good about yourself. It's when you take responsibility for doing that to yourself.
And even like your Miracle Miles, describe like what was the purpose of starting that? Because I feel like people in your community really embraced that, and I loved it too. When you'd go on walks and like start just talking, I'm like, oh, yes, here it goes.
I love it. I love it. So I don't know. When I moved down to Orange County in California, I mean, I live by the ocean. The first thing you want to do is like get out and be by the ocean every day. And I would start doing these walks and I realized it was an essential piece of making myself feel good and getting my energy moving. And I would listen to music and have all these great ideas, as I really feel like walking is an ideas factory for me. And so if I can start my day that way, it really connects me to, I don't know, the greater universe, I guess.
And I can tell like radical self-love for you, which is, you've coined that, is at the core of everything you do. How has your own relationship with love, romantic or otherwise, evolved in the past few years?
Oh my God. How much time have you got?
I know. I was like, right when I asked this, I'm like, here we go. Like, oh shit. Because I've experienced some of this, so I just but I know that you know more deeply than other people, because I've seen the transformation for myself in you. So I just wonder, you know, how has that evolved for you?
Well, what I will say is that I believe that the wrong relationship will make you ugly.
Damn.
Spike your cortisol, make you puffy, make you tired, you know, make your skin wrinkle. It's like smoking a pack of cigarettes every day.
Make you gain weight.
Make you gain weight. It's not working. And I think when it comes to love and relationships, you really have to look at, how does being with this person make me feel? And one of the reasons why I feel so good with my fiance, and I did immediately, was as soon as he arrives at my house, I feel peace. I am calm. I am chill. There's nothing to be worried about. And I've been in relationships where even the idea of seeing the person fills me with anxiety. And sometimes you're like, well, but they're so great and like I can make it work. And what if I'm more this and less that and whatever? But ultimately, you can be with someone who loves you exactly as you are, doesn't expect you to change in any way, and thinks you're completely brilliant. Like loves you the way that your parents love you, where they're like, you're the greatest thing on earth. And now that I've experienced that, it's like there's literally no time for anyone that doesn't feel that way. Because that's how I feel about my partners. I'm like, you're the fucking shit.
And you deserve that to be reciprocated.
Absolutely.
You know?
And if you're a lover girl and you ride for your partners, then you need someone who's exactly the same way.
Yep.
And they need to make you feel good and peaceful.
I love it. I'm
really not into the like, oh, sparks were flying. Like, no, it should just feel really nice when you're with them.
I've heard that, like that, you know, it's not, the way that it was described to me is like boring love. Like there's no fight or flight is really what that probably means. It's like there's no chaos. it's just total calm. You can be yourself around that person. So
And part of the trick of that is that you have to be with someone who can regulate their own emotions.
that's totally accurate.
And if they can't, you will never have a peaceful connection with them
That's right.
because they can't give that to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So if they can't give it to themselves, how the fuck are they going to give it to you?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I think we'll end that part there because I just think that was like the mic drop. Like that's totally true.
Mm-hmm.
You also talk a lot about magnetic femininity and sensuality.
Mm-hmm.
How do you cultivate that in your everyday life, especially when you're busy as fuck?
It's really about making myself feel good first thing in the morning. So I'm a big fan of, I find DJ mixes on YouTube and I play them on my TV at extreme volume. And I dance around my house and I make an effort to wear something that makes me feel good, usually something that's like colorful. And I take a walk and I'm really blessed to be in a place in my life where I'm only taking on projects that really excite me and really do make me feel good. So the momentum is kind of ramping itself up all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not looking at my calendar being like, oh, I have to do that thing.
Can you talk about was it pole dancing classes? What did you do for a long time where every time I watched it, I'm like, next time I go down there, I'm
Yes.
coming with you.
Yes.
You had like knee pads on and all sorts of shit. I was like,
Yes.
that looks great.
We were like sliding on the floor. I went to like a chair dance class for a while and I took my Pilates teacher and we were like, we are the Pussycat Dolls. This is amazing. It was so great. And I installed a pole in my basement. So I built a set and put a pole in my basement like last year. And
Of course.
it's so much fun. Like, why not? How else am I going to use this?
Why not?
Literally.
I love that. Next time I come over, we're going straight to that basement.
Yes.
All right, let's do a lightning round. You ready?
Yes.
What's your most gala moment of all time? Like a scene that was like straight out of a movie. I'm like, lightning round. You're like, I need to think about
I'm
this.
like,
Thank you.
Jesus. Gala moment. I feel like Madeline might know this better than I do.
She was trying to get BTS and we just totally caught her off guard. What do you think like her most gala moment? Yeah, so Madeline's back here. She is a photographer and she basically just goes everywhere with Gala friends. But like the photos that she captures are
Amazing.
She's
Stunning.
I've made her shoot me before on one of our, it was the trip to Austin.
Those photos were stunning.
So stunning. So the question was, what do you think her most gala moment of all time is? Like a scene that's been like straight out of a movie.
Like,
So
I feel like
you've been behind the camera to witness
you've
it.
been there for a lot of them. Maybe Vortex Fest 2023. I mean, that was crazy. Yeah.
Why was that? Because it was like,
Hundreds of people tapping along, doing all the same motion, just the energy in the room.
Yeah.
it's like palpable.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's, like you said, all people that were dressed in sequences and like, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like my most gala moments are when I'm doing something connected to my work, honestly, because my work is so important to me and it's so fun for me. So anytime I'm with people and we're creating something or doing an event, that's like when I really feel my most like myself. I'm also terrified. Like it's really intimidating being on a stage in front of 500 people or whatever, but there's so much heightened emotion and adrenaline. It's like fabulous and terrifying all at the same time.
I love it. If your aura had a neon color right now, what would it be and why?
Pink, obviously,
Duh.
because my soul is pink.
I totally agree with you, by the way. That's why I'm laughing. I'm like, of course.
Of course.
What is the biggest misconception about Gala Darling?
Ooh. It's a really hard question to answer because I don't spend a lot of time thinking about what people might be thinking about me.
I feel
But-
like that's an answer.
But I feel like I remember you telling me a story that you showed a picture of me to someone and they were like, she seems out there, or like she must be a crazy bimbo or something. And you were like, Gala's the most grounded person I've literally ever met.
Yes. Yeah. I guess that is, yeah. Like if someone sees you and they're like, she has pink hair, is she going to grow up? And you're
Right.
like, no, she's a grown ass woman, in fact. And she has so much knowledge.
Right.
So I guess, yeah, the pink hair on both of those questions, huh?
Yeah.
What's a spiritual practice that used to work for you but doesn't hit the same anymore?
Ooh. I've tried lots of different things. And sometimes it's more just a case of like I fall out of love with it for a while. Like I'm not doing breath work much these days, but there was a time when that was really helpful for me in like moving a lot of heavy emotion through my body.
I do. I am new to the breathwork game.
Okay.
And again, because I run hot, it is crazy because my Whoop strap that I, worn every day for the past 5 years, you can see the data and you can see now the stress monitor. So like every time I'm doing it, my stress drops way lower.
Yeah.
And then I sleep better, which is interesting. So there's some people that I'm like, how is it that something that is innate and natural as breathing, we don't know how to do that deeply, and it really
Right.
affects how we move through the day. It's like just wired all the time,
Yeah.
So it helps me slow down.
That's great. I love that.
Yeah. What is your this is fun. What is your go-to power outfit when you're about to walk into a room and just own it?
Boots always. I don't know if you noticed my boots today.
No, let me see. Oh, thank you kindly for wearing those, little lady.
How good are those?
They're so good.
These are like a Gem and the Hologram cowboy boot.
Oh, it's so good.
I'm obsessed. I
But-
always feel more powerful in a pair of boots.
Me too.
Always.
Yes.
I think being a goth, my first like goth expense was a pair of New Rock combat boots that had like
The
springs
thick
in them.
soles, yeah.
Thick soles. My father said it looked like I had polio when I wore them. I was like, dude. But I loved those. I wore them for literally a decade. And at that time, I was really exploring who I was and dressing weirdly and just growing into myself. And I always just feel better in a pair of boots.
I do
And
too.
a hat, honestly.
Same.
I really wanted to wear a hat today, but I thought the lighting might not work.
With the headphones and all of that. But
Yeah.
I am playing with the idea of wearing boots when it's like 120 degrees here in Vegas because I feel better in boots too. And I'm like, I wish I could wear boots every day, but it is hot. So I just, we got to crank the AC down. I think that's the solution.
Or maybe you need like a perforated sole so you can get some air in the bottom
Aerodynamic.
or something. Yes.
Just get some fans and just like blow the legs off every few minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. This is Neon Confidential. So spill the tea. What is something confidential about your life or business that you've never shared on a podcast before? Because I know that you do these.
I'm looking at Madeline like she has the answers. I know. I'm trying to think. There's really not a lot. But that's a bad answer.
No, it's not. I feel like if that says a lot about you, if you're an open book and there's not anything that's like, I'm even trying to think of something that I'm like, what have I seen you do that's like, that is interesting.
Secret and evil.
I do feel like I'm going to answer this question for you, that you tend to other people well, like in your personal life.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. When I've been to your house, I feel like there's always like music on and there's like candles and you're like cooking or like whatever the deal is. I feel like
Trying to set a vibe for people.
like maybe if some people have an idea of you that you like shut the cameras off and you like, I don't know, lay on your couch like a sloth.
I do though. That's true.
Sometimes, also other times, I feel like you kind of tend to other people more.
Well, I like that. I like having house guests. I do like to take care of people. I like to like make Madeline a coffee in the morning and I like to order us dinner and for us to find something to watch on television. Like I'm very what is the word? I'm kind of easygoing. Like I'll sort of do what people want to do.
Yep.
And I like to have people be comfortable in my house. And I feel like the greatest compliment is when someone says, I had the best sleep in your house.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a great one.
And I did have a great sleep in your house now that I'm thinking about it. It's very comfy down there, honestly. Yeah. What is a current obsession that's lighting you up right now?
I did buy a hot pink megaphone.
Yes.
I'm excited about it.
And you're going to use it on your Vegas trip.
I am. And I want to create an Instagram series where I yell affirmations at people from a passenger window of a car.
You're going to document it, right?
Yes.
This is such a good idea.
Isn't it?
There's so much shitty shit happening in the world,
Right.
And even like just driving down the road and people who are like irritated and road rage. If you're hanging out of a pink Escalade, which you've mentioned you've fully rented for this trip, and if someone yelled at me something nice from a pink megaphone, it would bring me to tears, I think.
Right. If you were like, nice buns.
You're like, I know. Like, I feel like, thank God someone noticed.
Right. I'm working hard on these buns.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that.
I'm into
Okay.
it. I love that series. I don't know if you've ever seen it where women catcall men from the
Yes.
car.
Oh my God. And
It is
they're just
so funny.
dying
They
laughing.
Cackle it.
And the men think it's hilarious
They
too,
love it.
which
They
is
love it.
kind of the opposite. We're kind of annoyed by it, but it is fun to like see the roles reverse and you're like, that was a good one.
Yeah.
Dream dinner party. You and 3 other powerful women, living or dead.
Oh,
Who's coming and what's being served?
okay. Louise Hay,
Of course.
RuPaul,
Yes.
Tony Robbins.
Great.
He's not a woman, but he counts.
Oh, yeah. I said women. Yeah, I think he counts.
He is a Pisces.
He's a powerful human. Yeah.
He's a powerful human. And what's being served? I don't care. I'd literally eat a bag of Flamin' Hot Cheetos if I could sit down and talk with all those people.
Excellent.
Yeah.
If you could tap on one belief and instantly shift it for every woman listening, what would it be?
Being allowed to live a better life than your mother did.
Oof. Shit.
That there's nothing wrong with doing better than she did, and actually should be really happy for you.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think we're going to end it there.
Love it.
Gala Darling, thank you so much.
Thank you.
From the Greek Isles to the Neon Confidential podcast, thank you so much for coming on.
It's my pleasure.